Entertainment family, Michelle McQueen talks to the Jacksons.
There's times I was afraid of my father. Sometimes, when you get mad.
If you get such a love, you gotta whip him.
Michael said he was so frightened of you sometimes that he would be sick. Is that true?
I didn't know anything about him being sick, but regurgitating. But if he did regurgitate, he regurgitated all the way to the bank.
Came to me and she said to me, Latoya, just please tell me the truth. Did he sexually molest you what he did me?
I really feel bad, and I love my sister very much, and I don't know why she's saying that.
We knew we sounded great people to tell us.
Have you ever asked him, Mrs. Jack, to stop grabbing his crotch?
He doesn't even realize he's doing it.
Do you think that the Jackson brothers will ever perform again? All of them?
Yes, real soon.
Also tonight.
Be very hard with it.
Well, it is hard, but life goes on. I can't sit down and develop stress over what Latoya out there singing. I gotta keep on going. I got a life to live.
And Michael. The Jacksons, when day one.
They are one of the most successful families in show business history. The Jacksons. Today their ages range from 42 to 26. And they've been in the public eye from the time they were kids. They looked like the model family, making millions of dollars with fans all over the world. But the fact is, there were troubles all along. They first surfaced in 1975 when everyone except Jermaine went to a new record label. In 1984, there were reports of bickering among the Jackson brothers during their now famous Victory Tour. Then Janet, the youngest Jackson, eloped against her parents' wishes. Latoya fired the next shots, first charging her father with physical abuse and later claiming he sexually abused her. And just 2 months ago came Michael's interview with Oprah Winfrey when he claimed his father beat him. Tonight, the family talks. They thought it was their turn.
So they invited day one to their home in Encino, California, and we talked to them over 3 days. The 22-room Jackson mansion is lavishly decorated and a long way from Gary, Indiana, where Father Joe worked in a steel mill. At different times, most of the 11 Jacksons have lived here. Things are quieter now. Fans no longer clamor outside the gates, and some of the Jacksons have gone their separate ways. But the presence of one family member, Michael, is still clearly felt at this house. The Jacksons spoke with Day One correspondent Michelle McQueen.
One thing I wanted to clear up that we are not feuding like the press have made like we have been doing for the last, 15 years. We never did.
So they can sell papers.
But now, out of the 9 siblings, 5 of them aren't here.
But that doesn't mean that we're fighting. Jack had an important meeting to make. Janet is doing a video, and she's going to take off to Europe. So Michael's doing what he has to do. Marlon lives in San Diego, and he's under the weather, but he had some important things to do.
Latoya wasn't there either, although no one expected her. She's been saying some very harsh things about her father, Joe, which we had heard he wanted to talk to us about. Even though Michael wasn't there, we were allowed within mere yards of the room in which the gloved one used to sleep before he built his ranch 100 miles away. He's still a part owner of the house, and there is evidence of him all around. But the person who seems to speak for the Jacksons is the third son, Jermaine.
If we don't get anything else, the fact that they brought us out here from Indiana, 9 kids, drug-free, and we became something. That's the most important thing. If we don't make another dime, that's what they gave us.
From the beginning, we were told they were more than the ideal musical act. They were the ideal family, talented and together. Jackie remembers those times.
We were around each other like glue at the time, every single day, every hour. Sometimes you get tired of one another, but it was great memories.
You really like being together with your brothers then?
Yeah, very much. My brothers were my friends.
The early years were the busiest for the Jackson Five. They were on the road nearly 200 days a year, performing 4 to 5 shows a week. But even when they were home, they sometimes stayed in motels just to maintain the discipline of being on tour. It was all part of the price of stardom, the part the public never saw. When we were growing up, there were so many of us who wanted to be you. We wanted to be the Jacksons, or we wanted to marry one, which is another story. Were we right? Oh, no way. Forget it.
You're not going to answer.
Who? Were we right? Did we want to be you?
I think my family, we were one of the first successful black families in entertainment business. I think our life off the stage had a lot to do with that. We were right on magazines and this and that. I always showed photos of my mom and my dad and all of us standing there and what we did at home. So I think kids, they wanted to follow in our footsteps. That's what America was then, young groups and role models, and the Jacksons, the Partridge Family.
While the magazine covers showed one thing, family life out of the spotlight was often something else. Joe Jackson had an affair that produced a daughter. Kate Jackson threatened divorce, then changed her mind.
It's hard to talk about, for me to talk about it. Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, love overcomes a divorce. So, there wasn't a divorce.
Let me answer it.
You had a chance?
No, I get the answer.
In time, Joe Jackson's role in his children's careers would give people a lot to talk about. But in the early years, all most of us knew was that the former steelworker had somehow gotten his family out of Indiana, groomed for stardom. What do you think was driving your father?
I thought at that time he just wanted to get out of Gary, Indiana, and move on to something different. And he wanted to see all of his kids very successful in life.
And whenever they would do something wrong, Joe didn't whip them all the time, but he'd punish them sometimes. And if it was bad enough, then they would give a punishment with a razor strap or just a spanking on the butt or something like that. But this playing up that he was a very, very, child abuser, that's not true. He was strict, though. That's the way it was back then. And that's the way his folks raised him. That's the way my parents raised me, and I really thank them for it.
Yeah, I got it all the time, The teacher at school with me, and I come home, told my parents that I got a whipping at school, and they whipped me too. So I got a lot of whippings.
I thought it was kind of the hardest on me because I was the oldest one, and when the other kids would get in trouble, he would get on me for it,
Why?
Because I was the oldest, and I was the oldest, so he would make sure we kept a close watch over the kids.
And in most cases that I can think of, we weren't allowed to go visit or stay all night with other kids.
Why was that?
Because he didn't have control and didn't know what was going on, didn't know how their parents were, how lenient they may have been, or what they allowed the kids to do.
There's 6 boys in the house. And, we were rough a lot, and there had to be some word, And so I look at where we are now. Look what we have now, look what we are, look what we do. It's great. So something was right.
So I thank my father. Maybe certain family members were more sensitive as to the way he was, but he was not a child abuser or beating us. I mean, that's the term they use, but any black family out there can relate to. If you did something wrong, you got a whipping.
Your son Michael said in a recent interview that he was frightened of you. He said that he was so frightened of you sometimes that he would be sick. Is that true?
Well, I just knew about that when I heard him mention that on TV on the Oprah Winfrey show. I didn't know anything about him being sick, but regurgitating. But if he did regurgitate, he regurgitated all the way to the bank, you know.
What do you mean?
I mean, by me being sick for him a little bit and it made him a superstar, you know, because, look, it just didn't happen on his own, you know. He had to have a beginning. All of them had to have a beginning.
Driven by their father, the group had 23 top 40 songs. On his own, Michael had 25 more and 11 singles that hit #1. His greatest success, of course, was Thriller. That was the best-selling album of all time. When we come back, we'll hear what the Jackson family has to say about Michael's enormous success and about LaToya's charges of sexual abuse.
Isn't that really classic?